This episode is brought to you by Playapod, the best cross-platform podcast app for iOS and Android. Just visit playapod.com and download it for free.
We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us.
So choose wisely.
Subscribe to It's Erik Nagel wherever podcasts are found. And leave a positive review, won't you kindly? It's Erik Nagel. It starts now.
What up, my Nagel? 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 Talking about George R.R. Martin, not writing. Talking Marvel versus DC, who's more exciting? Talking George Lucas's legacy, high-scoring centipede. Talking Gittles' new beef burrito recipe. Talking about Stephanie McMahon versus Sable. Talking about the Cybermen versus the Weeping Angels. Don't blink, the dialect's more deadly than you think. Talking Summer Ale, Blueberry Pale, craft beer, pouring drinks. What up, my Nagel? Deadpool 2 features Cable. Talking Funko Pop, celebrity signed a label. Talking online gaming, bitchin' and complaining. Talking E-Rock, kissing the feet of Matt Groening. Warner Brothers properties, Superman's a mockery. Weird Al conscious, Kevin Smith's debauchery. Rick and Morty fun zone. The Lego build team, can I have your attention? Possible Donkey Kong kill screen. What up, my Nagel? What up, my Nagel? What up, my Nagel? What up, my Nagel?
Ladies and gentlemen of the universe, the next voice you hear.
It's Erik Nagel.
Hello and welcome to It's Erik Nagel. That is me. Rejoining us from his trip from Washington, D.C. is Matt O.G. over there.
Yes.
In the upside down is Gittles.
What up?
And our producer, Trevor. Hooray. Welcome, everybody. Hope you had an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. Hope you took time out to remember what the weekend was actually about. Yeah. Giving praise and thanks and remembrance to those who fought in the armed services and gave their lives so we could do what most Americans do on that weekend, is barbecue and drink.
That's right. That's right.
So as long as you celebrated it the right way and then celebrated it by doing that as well, all is good.
All is okay.
So everybody had a good weekend, Trevor?
Yep, all thumbs up. Good pool party, from what I remember. And
nice. That's a great way to tell your story. Like, I don't remember it, so it was a great party.
It's actually, usually when I remember it, it's like it was an okay party.
Was this at your place?
I was at my parents' place. They were still in the Holland.
So they're not I love how at this adult stage of Trevor's life, he's still having parties at his parents' house while they're away on vacation.
That's great. Well, otherwise I got to clean up mine afterwards.
Well, you're cleaning up theirs.
Kind of.
How was the cleanup? Was it bad?
No, my friends...
Stuff in the bottom of the pool?
No, it wasn't that bad. It was
thing 1 and thing 2.
It's like the end of Poltergeist.
My friends have a habit of, like, when we really kind of like get out of our minds, it's like, so all of a sudden someone goes, "Wow, we made a mess," and then just drunk cleaning, like 6 people just start picking up things and putting it away.
That's a good set of friends you have there.
Oh, it's great. And if one of us can't cook, someone just jumps right in behind him.
I will say, like, getting older, like, I've noticed that happens a lot more now, where I'll be partying and, like, we'll be like, "Oh, man, we're really drunk. Look at this mess. We better start cleaning so we don't have to do it in the morning." And then we still have to clean in the morning, but we're always glad we got that head start.
That's right. Yeah. You're always glad you picked up those handful of plates.
Like, well, I didn't think it would be much, but look, we got 6 bags done, and there's still a lot more to do tomorrow.
That's right.
It's like, dude, oh, man, what a great... Oh, there's a ring on the table. Someone get me a paper towel. Hold on. I'll be right back.
So you had a great weekend, no damage, everything's all...
Well, I had that nervousness of, like, so it was Saturday, but I still went home afterwards, like, to my house to sleep.
Right.
So I woke up the next morning, like, what kind of condition did I leave my parents' house in? So, like, I got there an hour before they came home, as I know... For some reason, every time they go away, I have the party the day before they come back, not when they first leave.
Sure.
And had to do the whole sweep of the house.
Right.
And no, we did pretty good drunk cleaning up. The bathrooms were a bit of a mess, but
well, they tend to take the worst damage.
Yeah.
They
see
the
things.
Eye of the storm is the best.
That's it. It's the eye of the storm.
At least there's not, defecation up and down the walls. Like
not the walls, not the. How'd it get on the ceiling?
Yeah. Dude, that's not unheard of.
It's like, was that Dumb and Dumber?
Roomba.
Oh God. That's one. Yeah, it's Bob Saget and Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
It's on the mirror. But no, I mean we did have some cleanup from some weird substances in the bathroom, but it had I found some Windex and a paper towel, and we were good.
That's all you need.
Giddles, how was your weekend?
I was pretty good, man. I went out to Long Beach. I went to a friend's house, and we grilled a big roast pork, and then just watched a bunch of movies and TV shows. It was pretty good. I saw Geostorm, not the car.
Oh my God. I have to watch Geostorm.
I want to watch that too.
Because after listening to the episode of How Did This Get Made,
yeah,
it's the only thing I want to watch right now.
It's
on, like,
really
Netflix.
good. Like, I'm not going to lie. And like by really good, I mean terrible.
But yeah, of course.
It's on Netflix?
I think it is on Netflix, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I don't know. My friend had it, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't have it in 4K. I'm like, dude, I'd watch this on my phone. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I just need to see all the Geostorms. Like,
have you listened to that episode of How Did This Get Made?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
yet, but I want to.
It's brilliant.
I heard they're doing the Hurricane Heist one, which I need to listen to and then watch, because Hurricane Heist is Fast and the Furious, where they rob a bank during a hurricane because no one will be in town, and I cannot wait to see how fucking stupid this movie is.
Yeah, it's like Fast and the Furious meets Twister.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah,
my kind of movie.
That came out.
Yeah,
this year.
highly recommend Geostorm if you haven't seen it yet.
Geostorm.
And the car too. The car's
hero.
Great. Yeah.
No, I don't see any big names in the Hurricane Heist. So.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was.
No.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah.
No,
I think Hurricane Heist is one of those movies that someone will look back in 30 years and be like, oh my God, this person was in Hurricane Heist? That's what it's going to be. Like, they're not famous now, but they will be.
Like when you look at Leprechaun, it's like Jennifer Aniston did what?
What?
There's one name I recognize, Ben Cross.
Oh, all right.
You know who he is?
No.
Okay. Do you remember they remade Dark Shadows in the 90s?
I do.
Yeah, he was Barnabas Collins.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason I want it, because my mom loved that show.
All right.
Because she also loved the original show.
Well, the original show was on for like 40 years.
It was a soap opera.
It was a soap opera, but with
about
vampires.
Yeah.
So True Blood.
It was like rich upper class and vampire.
No, it was more like Addams Family and less like True Blood.
Okay.
So does the whole show take place at night?
Yeah.
No, like in the mansion was all the windows were blacked out.
Yeah,
so
you know that trick.
He was around during the day too.
Imagine like if people just wanted to like drop by uninvited and then they can't come in because you have to invite them in because they're vampires and they're just like standing at the door.
I don't know. I think
awkward.
I think you could. Can you go into a vampire's house? I don't know if the rule goes both ways.
Yeah, you don't.
No, I thought,
you
like,
have free will. You can go and do what
you
you
have
want.
to invite a vampire into your house. But if they're visiting the vampire's house, I don't think the vampire has to invite them in.
Well, I mean, it's just proper like etiquette.
Well, I mean, all right,
you
but
don't just walk into a vampire's house just taking all their blood and shit.
But
like,
but etiquette is different than make believe rules surrounding.
Yeah, it's like they can't.
I don't make the rules. I make them up.
part of their torment of being a vampire is they have no free will. They got to follow those rules. In your case, it's just like, could you take your shoes off before you walk through the house?
But like,
I would just go up to vampires all day and be like, you got something in your teeth, and they try and go and look at it in the mirror and just like, they'd never get it. Like, I would be such a dick to vampires.
I wore garlic on my belt, which was the style at the time. Well, all right, Giddles had a good weekend.
There you go.
Matt wasn't with us last week because he was coming back from Washington, D.C. So how was the trip? How was your weekend?
Well, I mean, for the most part, the trip sucked. No, that's not true. But it was boring. I was at a conference for my real job. Mm-hmm. But I did get to go to the Spy Museum one night. Like our big dinner for this conference was at the museum. They shut the museum down and it was only open to us. And were
you hoping it was going to be like one night at the museum?
I was secretly
like you'd
hoping.
Get locked in at night and everything comes to life.
But like,
Robin Williams just rides by. Hey,
it was interesting from like an actual historical standpoint, right? So it went through all the different types of like equipment that's been used and like crypto keys and stuff like that, and and then they talked a little bit about like celebrity spies, people you didn't know were spies. Like,
cue the 007 theme.
Yeah. So the entire first floor.
No, we know he's a spy.
The entire first floor of the museum.
It's when you find out that Woodrow Wilson was a spy.
Yeah. Well, it's like Julia Child, like that kind of thing. She was a spy.
Really?
You didn't know that?
Wait a minute, what?
Julia Child. The
cooking?
The cooking lady. Yeah, she was a spy.
Dude. Oh, and then you just put a little bit of poison in the onion rings, and oh my God, he's dead. Yeah, like she was fucking doing that shit. She was killing people.
It's like half.
I mean, I don't know if she was killing people, but she was a spy. Yeah.
She was killing people.
According to Giddles, she was killing people.
Look at this.
kindness.
Julia Child cooked up, pun, a double life as a spy.
Yeah.
Told you.
But in addition, they actually did a fairly decent job handling that on Drunk History, I think. But the entire first floor of the museum was all James Bond related.
See,
it was like all the cars from the film, and it was like a bunch of Bond's gadgets. It was all the all the bad guys and their gadgets. They had like interactive things where like you had to like try to deactivate a bomb. I did not deactivate the bomb.
Did you cut the blue wire?
Yeah, I cut the wrong wire.
Did you pull out the bread basket and touch the sides?
I did touch the side, which was also a problem.
Okay,
but
note to self: if we're ever in this situation, Matt doesn't get to go first.
No. I could draw the schematics. Just don't ask me to engage in the actual setting us free. I would not do well and escape the room. But,
know what Matt is? Matt's MacGruber.
Oh my god! It's just a stalk of celery in his ass.
He's over-explaining everything and time runs out.
But no, that was really cool. That was a lot of fun. And then my weekend after that was I had my wife's birthday, my kid's birthday, a friend's kid's birthday.
Jeez.
And then Memorial Day in like the span of 3 days. So it was a busy weekend.
I wish we could have known about it until you got angry for us about talking to you.
No, well, it's all right.
No, I was wondering that ourselves because we were laughing at the fact when you started getting mad on the group text.
Yeah.
Guys, you're killing me. Blah, blah, blah. And
because
we all had the same thought. It's like, why doesn't he just turn the sound off?
Yeah, but
you could put the chat on mute.
Can you put the chat on mute?
Vibrate.
Yeah.
See, but here's the thing.
No, there's an actual. That's when I ask you if you had an iPhone.
Yeah.
There's an actual option that says mute this chat.
I don't know if you can mute it on Android.
Oh well.
That said,
sounds like.
That said, I don't mind when you guys were talking about show-related things because I wanted to be able to stay on top of that and contribute if I saw.
Right.
It's when you started planning your Fortnite game, and it was every 4 seconds. Oh, I'm going to be on in 3 minutes. Well, I'm going to be on in 2 minutes. Well, I'm going to be on in a minute and a half. But first, I got to piss, shit, and poop, and order a pizza. For like 30 minutes, all it was Fortnite plans, and I'm like, no, it's okay, cool. I'm at a fucking conference sitting here. My pants are vibrating. Some guy is talking about fucking cutting off fingers, and you're driving me nuts.
You know the best part about all that? We didn't even wind up playing together.
I was just going to say, we didn't even end up playing. Like,
yeah, because you were too busy talking to each other, making the goddamn plans.
No.
You MacGrubered yourselves.
Now, we've overlooked something very important in this little rant here. Who was cutting off fingers that you were watching?
well, I was at. So I work in insurance safety.
You weren't watching like basketball?
No. I work in insurance and safety and workers' compensation as part of my real job.
You're Ben Stiller in Along Came Polly.
Yes.
Got it.
Sort of. The software that he used in Along Came Polly, I used that actual software for years at my job.
Hence why I said it.
I thought Matt was just on that website that's like YouTube but allows you to see like explosions and beheadings.
But one of the things that we were talking about at this conference was scheduled injuries and such.
Scheduled injury.
Yes. So, all right.
I'm late for my 2 o'clock bludgeoning.
No. So under comp law, right? And it might even apply to like third party injury as well, like if you get hurt in a store, right?
Okay.
But when you go to a doctor and you're trying to like settle that case or resolve those matters,
been there.
Parts of your body are worth different values.
I did find that out. Yeah.
Right. So your pinky finger is worth, for the sake of casual conversation, 8 weeks of your salary, right?
Okay.
Your entire arm is like 200 weeks, right? So we were talking about scheduled injuries, and they were talking about a finger and loss of a finger. And
most expensive body part.
I think it's
genitals.
No, I believe it's your arm. Actually, I believe it's your arm, and then your leg. I think is where it is.
Oh, I hit number 2 on the list.
Back in the long ago when I was doing part-time radio. And had to make either ends meet or health insurance by also working at retail stores. Mm-hmm. And when you work at retail stores that have deliveries and shipments, like truck deliveries in the back, and you got to take pallets off and learn how to, if they're not food, you got to learn how to stock them on the shelving units in the back. You got to watch safety videos, right? And they're corny up until they reenact actual injuries.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, oh my! Then they have a low key horror budget as they're showing you this. So one of the things that freaked me out, and which is a reason I don't wear jewelry or watches or anything anymore, is they had people saying you don't climb on the shelving units to grab something, right?
Tip forward.
Yeah, that's one part, but you have the big metal stairs where you pull the lever so that it unlocks the wheels. You can put it and let go, and it locks itself in position. But they show people climbing the things. Now the shelving units have little holes in them, so they're showing people where they get caught, and because they're wearing a ring or something, fall from it and having their finger slice right off because of that, Fallon. Or getting their watch caught in the grating of the shelving level, where your hand gets caught here, and then the watch is like either cutting into your arm or just horrific stuff.
Yeah.
And because of those safety videos, they do work. I just didn't wear the stuff that would get me hurt. I took the chance of climbing anyway because at one particular job, and I think I've told this, I don't know if I told this story on this particular program, but I was working in the frozen and dairy section. So when you'd unload the trucks, you'd bring them over
two different sections.
to big freezer units, right? So
it's just called the cold section, Gittles. I've worked that job too.
Yes, me too.
What? No way. The fridge and the milk section is totally different from the frozen section.
But
they're not even remotely near each other.
Not when you're packing refrigerated trucks.
Right. Frozen dairy is this half of the building.
That's ice cream. Frozen dairy.
So you take the frozen stuff, you put it in a deep freezer, right? The dairy is very cold, not a deep freezer, but so you can go in and out, but you're wearing a jacket and gloves and everything while you're in there because it gets cold. Yeah. So I like the cold, so it's no problem for me. What I used to do sometimes is the far back shelving unit on the very top, where you would store anything extra that you had for the dairy, say boxes of eggs. You know, one box would have 12 cartons of eggs in it, right? You take some of those eggs, the boxes. You line them up against the edge, and you just take flattened cardboard, lay it over the shelving unit, and then you could go up there and take a nap.
You napped on eggs?
Oh, once I set that up, it was a rotation. There was other people in there like, I'm going to go take a nap for a little bit. Cool. And they'd go up there, they'd sleep for 20 minutes or whatever, come back out and do whatever. No, the eggs were just blocking the end of the shelving unit.
It sounded like you were. I was going to say.
No, you're not sleeping on the eggs. The eggs are on the edge of the shelving unit to block that you can't see up there.
I was more impressed that you were sleeping on eggs and didn't break any eggs.
No, not sleeping.
And then in my head, I'm
eggs.
like, oh yeah, well obviously they have those egg crate like mattress things, like
No, you have the flattened cardboard on the actual shelving unit, so that because they're all grated, so this way it.
This is in the freezer. You slept in a freezer.
In the dairy freezer, so it's not technically a freezer. It's more like a very very cold refrigerated section.
I could sleep much better in the cold than I can in the heat.
So you line up because you have stuff on the very top shelf, which is about three shelves high. You would line the boxes around the edge, and then you'd sleep behind those boxes on the flattened cardboard there.
Remember that movie Employee of the Month with Dane Cook and Dax Shepard? And they worked at Costco.
I do remember that movie.
And on the top shelf, they had a clubhouse that was just blocked by like a bike.
It was amazing.
Yeah. That's what you made your own clubhouse.
But mine was before the movie came out. So.
It was like the special bathroom in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but the guys on the other section.
Grocery?
Like the other section that would handle gardening and seasonal. Yeah. Right? Over there, they would have stuff in their back end with the chairs and fencing.
They would sleep
supplies
behind
and all
the
that.
manure.
Yeah, they would that too. They would stack up the dirt and they would clean out the area behind it. There, they'd make like a fort.
Dirt naps.
Yeah. You throw your headphones on, you sleep for a little bit, you get up, and then when somebody asks, "Where were you?" I was like, "I've been working in the back."
Dirt nap.
No one worked where you were, did they?
No, some did. They were the dumb ones.
On occasion, you know.
Yeah.
The dumb ones.
I got to go to work to go to sleep.
Yeah, I would leave because there was a lot of because of storms. One of them was down in Florida because of storms. They'd have power outages and everything, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going home." I'd take my stuff and I'd leave during the power outage because you can't clock out, you can't clock in, you know. And while they're racing, you know, if I covered up the stuff out in the outside containers because you have these plastic flaps that you pull over and you tie down to keep. The cold in there. So I'd pull all those things down. Like, nothing for me to do. I'll go home. Yeah. And then I'd show back up the next day. And then when they were like, "Where did you go?" I was like, "Oh, such and such told me you can go home." Because I knew certain managers would tell hourly employees, part-time people, whatever like that, who were working smaller jobs within the store there, they could go home because they needed other people to do other things. So that's what I would do. I'm like in the midst of the confusion. I was like, I was just told to go home, so I'd go home.
This is a great story to tell while you're looking for a job.
I'm not looking for those jobs. It doesn't matter. Does not matter. Anyway.
I mean, I did walk into the old Sirius studio and find Fez sleeping on a recliner one time. So
wasn't he absolutely terrified too?
He was. He was so scared. I scared the ever-loving shit out of him.
But he's nice about it. Fez is great.
Poor Fez.
I used to find Earl sleeping in any of our studios all the time.
Yeah.
But Earl was not intentionally going to sleep. Like when Fez or Chris Stanley would go to sleep,
they were trying to take a nap.
It was during the off times of the studio. We had the curtains or whatever, or even at the XM facility, it was just us.
Right.
Earl was always head down in the sitting position with something in his hand, like he was supposed to be working, and he would just fall asleep.
He was a fainting goat.
Yes, he was. Somebody sprayed Febreze, and he passed out. But Earl would accidentally fall asleep. But like you'd see Chris Stanley, sometimes Dave, not too much Dave, but sometimes Dave. Fez loved the recliners.
Oh yeah, that's where I found them
in the second XM studio. Yeah.
Oh, those recliners were amazing.
They were in the far back part of the TV studio.
That's where Sam Jones.
Oh right, yeah.
That's where Flash Gordon tried to sleep during our on-air interview with him. The good old days.
The good old days. Moving on. Brian Shea will be joining us, our old pal Brian Shea from Game Informer magazine. He'll be joining us in the next segment there to go over. A lot of stuff happened this week with pre-show information for E3.
Right.
Stuff's being leaked out or intentionally put out there. It's a little of both, so we have all that. And he's going to help Matt out with some of his Switch issues that he's been seeing on social media, because I talked to him today, and he's like, does Matt need help? I was like, yes, please.
No, I think I figured out some of it.
Well, he's going to.
But I will.
He's going to see what guidance he can offer you.
Still look very bewildered by it.
Well, because I was talking to Brian a little bit about it later. Last night, but for some reason it downloads really slow when it's in the dock. Like I was trying to download a game last night in the dock, and it was like 23 hours for this game to download.
Is the dock hardwired, or are you still running off Wi-Fi?
It's not hardwired. It's Wi-Fi.
Wow.
Yeah, but as soon as I took it off the dock, literally, like all I did was lift it off the dock. It was like 3 minutes and 25 seconds, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, fuck the
That's
dock.
weird.
So yeah, fuck the dock. That was the solution.
Oh.
All right.
But anyway,
well,
but I'll still talk to Brian.
Brian Shea will be joining us again in the second segment, so we'll have that to look forward to.
And segmento two.
Lots going on, and I think the first story we should try to figure out here is the Roseanne situation, because as of the day that we're recording this, now Samantha Bee has a situation potentially that's happening. So let's recap for anybody who doesn't know. I don't know how you don't know at this point. So Roseanne yesterday was fired from her television show.
Yes.
They canceled the television show.
Yes.
Which I'm not 100% sure if that was the right thing to do, but we'll get into that in a second. So she was fired within 12 hours of tweeting something that should not have been tweeted.
Yeah.
No matter if you're defending her on any level for anything, I get why some people are, but what she said was completely wrong, and she should have.
She should have been fired.
Right. No one's doubting that whatsoever.
That's 100%. I don't. First of all, for me personally, if you remember, I didn't jump on Roseanne because I was having this really difficult time.
Not a lot of people jump on Roseanne.
Hey-o. But I was having this really difficult time reconciling the fact that I knew that she was kind of a. Oh wait, this is what got me in trouble.
Yes, it is. That's why I'm you notice how I'm just staring at you. I'm like, here it comes.
This is what got the listeners mad at me for getting too political.
It was about Roseanne.
It was about Roseanne. I didn't want to watch Roseanne because I think that she's a conservative nut job, and I was having a hard time reconciling the artist from the art.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Right. So I didn't want to watch the show. I was really hesitant, and so I kept telling myself, "Yeah, maybe I'll catch up. I'll catch it. Then all this shit would happen, and I felt a weird sense of vindication. Like, yes, I did not support the racist asshole. Huzzah to me.
I made a smart decision in life.
So for those who don't know, she put out a tweet where she was saying, comparing a Muslim group and Planet of the Apes having a baby, and it would equal former Barack Obama aide, how do you say it? Is it Jarrett, her last name? Valerie Jarrett?
Yeah.
So she has since apologized, Roseanne.
Correct.
Has also stated
After blaming Ambien.
After blaming Ambien.
Right.
Ambien's response was brilliant.
She said, yes, they were. They're saying part of our
we have a lot of different side effects,
but racism is not one of them.
Yeah, unexpected death in your sleep is a side effect, but not racism.
Right. So, Roseanne has since apologized, which I think apologizing that early didn't help her cause either, because it seemed to add more fuel to the fire. Also, she said that she wasn't aware that Valerie was black. She said she looked Jewish. So I don't. That's
all right.
Look,
but
she's very light skinned, but I don't see that reasoning either.
I don't for a second think that Roseanne apologized because she wanted to apologize. I think the only reason, there are some instances where I'm like, well, maybe they legit kind of feel bad and there's a little bit. No, this apology was 100% career driven. This was that's what this was. This was the apology. Because before she made this dumb comment, she was also spreading all that bullshit propaganda against Soros 2 days before.
Nazi ties or something, right?
Yeah, when he was like 7 years old.
He was 7 years old, but he was selling out his people and like killing. She's and she has a history.
She does
of being a problem child. I mean, there's no way around it. This is not new behavior.
She wasn't in that movie, so we'll rephrase it as a she-devil.
There you go. Ha! Look at you.
I see.
But this is not new, right? This is not new behavior for her. She has made a new part of her career as being controversial, a little bit wacky, and not generally a nice person. So this wasn't shocking that she said it.
Well, I think
to a certain degree,
look, the current comments are cut and dry, right? The other comments get muddied a little bit because she's also had a history of fighting anti-Semitism too. So with the Nazi comments, went overboard with that. And again, like Giddle said, I didn't know he was that young. When she was claiming all this was going on.
Well, dude,
but she has a history.
Soros is still alive.
She has a history of fighting anti-Semitism too, because she is she married into the Jewish family.
Even when she dressed up like Hitler and was like burning cookies in the oven.
I'm not defending that. I'm just saying she she has had a history of being outspoken, even since the incident with the national anthem back in the mid '90s and stuff. She has been very open about people with their anti-Jewish comments. So on one side she's activist like that, but on the other side she's negating all of that by doing the other stuff. So it's all a wash.
This is
and not for anything good.
This is how I see what happened this week. The Soros stuff, right? That was her like putting her feet down on the line to start the race. She was waiting for the guy to pull the gun to start running.
Oh, you're saying she faulted.
Right. And then so
numerous times.
I honestly think that she just it compounded itself. Not that the one isn't bad.
Yeah.
Not that either one is not bad or whatever. And I think they're both terrible, and I really don't want to have to try to rank them, so I'm not going to. But I think two of those things, literally within like a day of each other, at some point in time, ABC has to step up and say, no. No. Right? Because
Wanda Sykes quit the show like almost immediately.
Yeah.
And hold on. With that, I mean, I get that, but her announcement came about an hour before they said they were canceling the show. So she probably already knew they were canceling the show and just put it out there to say, I'm canceling, I'm leaving the show. An hour before the news comes out, she had to have known.
Either way, what
Dude, this is the fastest the show has been canceled.
I know, and that's I have an issue with that too, but we'll get into that in a second.
I think in our current political climate, right? And I don't want to blame Trump for everything, but he has put the country in a position where these sorts of instances have become more frequent and they've become emboldened, right? That's on him. I'm sorry, that's on him and that's on his party. People feel like it's more okay to do these types of things and they don't understand that there are repercussions. That's just the way the climate is. So in this climate, I don't see how ABC doesn't make the decision to cancel that show almost immediately.
Okay.
Because ABC is going to come under scrutiny. Someone's going to say,
of course they are.
Right? Sponsorships are going to pull out and all these other I think ABC made the right call because even as successful as that reboot was, it was not network saving. It was not a linchpin for the network.
It actually kind of was.
Was it?
Yes, because hold on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Giddles.
But I was going to say, but like ABC also didn't air an episode of Blackish because it dealt with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and they didn't want to be involved with politics. So like this doesn't seem that far-fetched. Like what she did was far worse than having commentary about kneeling football players.
Okay, well, two different things there. One, she did it not on the show. She did it in her personal life.
Once again, I'm as a person who's been a victim of this, Eric.
Right.
Like when people are the face of a company, that's what happens.
No, I understand that. I get that. But there's a degree of severity where if you did it on the air, being responsible for the company because you allowed that to air, that's even more fault on the company. Two, when she did it off air on her own Twitter account, but she's still employed by the company, so there's a degree of severity of what they have to deal with, and you got to accept responsibility for her. Either way, but it's how much responsibility you accept for her, because it's not like you approved the script, you allowed it to be in production, and you aired it that way. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a difference. Now, with her firing, it came very fast. I think they knee-jerked a little bit. Not that she shouldn't have been fired, but I think they reacted too fast. I think they should have put out a statement, said, like most networks do when stuff, like with Matt Lauer, right? They said, we were doing an internal investigation, we're checking this out with her. Then they eventually fired him, okay?
Mm-hmm. But the Matt Lauer thing was sexual assault abuse things where you have to actually, like, investigate it. Like,
no,
this was
I
a
understand.
tweet where you blatantly see what she said.
Right, but I think what they should have done is said, we were going to do, we're going to review this or whatever. They shouldn't have just said the show's fired right away. And the reason why I'm saying they shouldn't have fired the show right away is because, take her out of the equation for a moment. Look at all the people on the cast and the crew that just lost their jobs who aren't like her, and aren't saying the things at her. They're now been, heavily punished because of something Roseanne did. Now, I also am aware that she's the head of this beast.
It is
so when you cut
Roseanne,
off the head, the body, falls and dies.
Yeah.
So I think they should have taken some time and said, we're going to review this and we'll announce our decision. Then said something along the lines like, we are canceling her. I mean, we're firing her, whatever. We're revamping the show. Say, repackage the show. Remember Valerie in the Hogan family? She was a problem, not like Roseanne. She walked off the show. They kept the show going, repackaged it, revamped it as the Hogan family. They could have changed it to the Connors and not have killed the whole thing off with the thing with Roseanne.
They killed Dan and brought him back.
But here's why I respectfully
Why does everyone think he's dead?
Here's why I respectfully disagree with you.
Okay.
Going back to what I said originally, I think ABC chose not to get involved at first with the Soros stuff. Although they could have.
Right.
To be quite honest with you, ABC could have.
It happened so fast, we don't know.
But what I'm saying to you is, I don't think that they knee-jerk reactioned. I
don't think so
someone
either.
at ABC started looking at her Twitter feed with the Soros stuff, because that was picking up a lot of momentum. And someone at ABC had to be saying, uh-oh.
Yeah, of course.
And then,
I'll agree with that.
I don't think it was knee-jerk. I think it was compounded. And I think they also saw that this was likely not going to stop anytime soon. So how many do you let her get away with?
I'm not saying let her get away. I'm saying I think they knee-jerked in the sense of the whole show's just done, rather than they say, we are going to going to separate our agreement with Roseanne. We don't know what we're going to do with the show yet.
But who's to say they can't relaunch a show called Lori and make it about not Lori, whatever her name is, Jackie.
All right, here's the thing, and I thought that as well, but I also read up on some other things. So apparently, for all the shows going into the next season have started this week, right?
Yeah.
They hired all their cast, their union people, their writers, whatever. Yeah. The people from the show have been let go. They're not even being held.
Right.
The cast is not being held, although some of the cast, I think, like Laurie Metcalf, Sarah Gilbert, and John Goodman are still getting like $5 million. That's in their agreement for the next season. That's not happening.
Yeah,
that stuff screws everything up, because even if they wanted to rebrand it and or do the spinoff of Jackie or Dan or whatever like that, you lost the people. You severed the agreement.
Yeah, but
so had they said, we don't know what we're going to do with the show yet, we have parted ways with Roseanne, we don't know what we're going to do with the show, they still would have had the holding agreement on all the other people.
My question for you. What's the difference, because it was 12 hours after the tweet, what's the difference between 12 hours and 24 hours for you?
Social media is the difference.
Yep. Social media.
I'm not necessarily saying that if they had waited, it would have been different. What I'm saying is that the court of public opinion in 2018, in May of 2018, with everything else that's going on right now, ABC, who just had the biggest black or African American superhero driven film ever, because remember, ABC is owned by Disney. Disney cannot sit on these things. Disney has to look at this and say, you know what, this is going to fuck up ABC a little bit, but we're fucking Disney, and we just earned $1.5 billion on Black Panther. We're not going to subject ourselves, Disney, to this type of thing. What's the difference between waiting 12 hours and 24 hours if they were going to cancel it either way?
That decision,
the degree of the punishment.
But I don't see what you're saying as I don't see what you're saying as being steadfast, because even if they're going to rebrand the show, I highly doubt they were going to just roll over and rebrand the show. They need time to gather up the troops, to rewrite scripts, to figure out what to do.
But they could. All right, here, and this is another side.
There's nothing that says they still can't do that a year from now.
Right, but there's difficulty now from what I'm reading about it. Here's the other thing that I read too: the money that it was bringing in. Okay. Advertisers alone, no. Next year would be over $100 million.
It's not a show that was on Friday at 11 p.m. This was their number one show.
This current season was only 9 or 10 episodes. It was a short season. Brought in advertising about $60 million.
How many advertisers do you think would have pulled their sponsorship if they had stuck around?
They would have pulled it from her programming. Yes, of course. Right.
But the fact that ABC can cancel this so fast means that they don't care about that money. Like, if they desperately needed that money, they would have waited.
I don't know. No, that's still a
huge...
Like,
no, dude, like, totally. Like, come on. Like, how do you not see that? Like,
I guess I get what you're trying to say, but what you're ultimately saying is, look, I understand they were going to cancel it anyway. Well, if they were going to cancel it anyway,
they weren't going to cancel it anyway.
No. What you're saying is they could have waited 24 hours to announce that they were going to cancel it. I'm saying is, well, in that they've already made the decision to cancel it. So what's the difference between making the announcement right away or waiting?
By not canceling the show, by firing her.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
It's firing her totally. Get it? I understand it has to be done.
We don't know what the contract
is. But you could have revamped it. Maybe. All right, Giddles, that's a fair point too. We don't know what the contract is. So we're just talking speculation here. So
I don't think
they
could
have
back.
Look, that show made a lot of money. People loved that it was back on. It was number one for all 10 episodes that it ran. That they could have rebranded it like they did the Hogan Family with Valerie. They could have and just did it with the Connors or whatever, and did something, wrote her out of the storyline, and then had a brand new show and still kept everything.
But I don't think that's off the table. And I don't see. Here's the problem: even if the show comes back as Aunt Jackie or the Connors, it's still not Roseanne. You still have to cancel Roseanne to bring in the new show.
Yeah, no one said that she shouldn't, dude.
Yeah,
we didn't say she shouldn't be fired.
We're just talking about the background
contracts,
writers.
We're saying they shouldn't have jumped to the conclusion to kill the entire show.
But okay, so then this is all speculation because we don't know any of that information.
Right. I'm saying I feel bad for them, not for her.
Oh, I feel bad for them too.
Yeah,
but
I just think that show could have been
saved. I feel bad for
her.
them, but at the same point in time, I don't see how ABC had any other choice.
Well, they could have fired Roseanne. Just say we're firing Roseanne, and the show is on hiatus.
Yeah,
because we don't know if we're gonna. Yeah. Because then you have people, writers, you have actors, you have everyone that's kind of still getting paid and in the background, but now no one's getting paid.
Let me point out how unfortunately, I have this similar situation when Anthony tweeted out his stuff, right? We were told that when the company was going to make a decision that we all got the phone call saying that they were going to fire Anthony. We don't know what we're doing with the show. So as of right now, because we were going into the 4th of July week, we were off for like another week or two.
Sure.
So I was still told, I was like, I got to run the best ofs. We're not pulling everything off. We're going to figure out what we're going to do. We got to talk to Open Gym and their agent and see how we sort this out. Had they done that in the Roseanne situation, said, look, we have to fire Roseanne. We don't know what we're going to do with the show yet. I think that would have been a better way because then all those people wouldn't have lost their job.
I guess I see what you're saying, but it feels like semantics to me.
Yeah.
These people, I've worked in television. These people have a really good union that protects them when shit like this when shit gets canceled. Like, I've worked on shows where it's gotten canceled at 3:00 in the morning, the night before I'm supposed to start. Like, Lucifer got canceled.
Right.
Where's the sympathy for all them? Ash vs. Evil Dead got
a lot
canceled.
of sympathy for them.
These are all people who are out of jobs too, who thought they were going to get more seasons. So, like,
dude, there's a huge rally cry for Lucifer to try to get it on another network. Everyone's
no one's saying, What about all the poor cast and crew members, though? No one's saying that.
Because no one did anything.
Yeah, they are. That's
wrong.
That's what these rallies are for, to bring back. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine got, only had a day to deal with it, but they jumped back. They had their whole fan base was starting a rally on it. Lucifer's fan base is still going strong.
But there's a difference between fan base and cast and crew. What I'm saying is that, like, everyone's saying sympathy for the cast and crew of Roseanne, but no one's saying sympathy for, like, the cast and crew of these other shows that got canceled the same way.
Because they weren't canceled because of someone's dumb tweet.
But they were still canceled. People still lost their jobs.
Right, but I think people do feel bad for them by rallying to try to get the show saved on another network.
I don't think any network is picking up Roseanne, to be quite honest.
No one's picking up Roseanne. But
every network that has syndication with them has dropped them, so that's even hurting the actors even more.
That was a secondary thing, because Paramount, which owns the rights to the show, I don't know if it was that night or the next day, said we are pulling it out of syndication, and they were pulling off any streaming service that they were tied to, and they were also removing the DVDs from being sold from whatever outlets still are selling DVDs.
Going the way of the Cosbys.
I think that at the speed at which this show was canceled, and the fact that Wanda Sykes pretty much quit immediately means that there was probably tension behind the scenes, and that this was the breaking point. That's what I honestly believe. I think they were waiting for something like this to happen so they could just be like, I'm out. I think that's probably what happened.
So you think John Goodman and Sarah Gilbert saw this coming?
I feel like they did. How did they not know?
I'm asking. That was a legit question.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't think she's tweeted calling people apes before. It's all over Twitter from 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right. The only she has a history of this behavior.
Yeah. She has a history of this, and when she sang the national anthem, it was far more disrespectful than people taking a knee. I'll tell you that.
Okay, so let's look at a different situation then on the other side of the political spectrum, if you will. Samantha Bee. Last night on her show, she called Ivanka Trump a feckless.
Yes, she did.
And also insinuated that dressing up very slutty to get your dad's attention to tell him to stop doing things that he's doing.
Right. Ivanka Trump, who works at the White House, chose to post the second most oblivious tweet we've seen this week. You know, Ivanka, that's a beautiful photo of you and your child, but let me just say, one mother to another, do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless. He listens to you. Put on something tight and low cut and tell your father to fucking stop it. Tell him it was an Obama thing and see how it goes, okay?
Now, the news this morning, depending on what you watch or what you read, some didn't really acknowledge it, and the others were all outraged about it. And then it started to build, and she put out an apology. Then TBS put out an apology saying that this should never have aired. This was totally on us and what have you. So now, not only does Samantha apologize, but the network is taking responsibility for it as well. But then
they approved the joke before it went on the air.
And then you have groups now they're saying, well, how is this fair for doing something despicable on your airwaves where Roseanne tweeted it out? This was done on your air. How is Samantha not being punished for this?
So this is where I see go ahead, Giddles. You can go first.
I was gonna say there is such a vast difference. It's not even comparable.
So
if Roseanne called Valerie Jarrett a feckless,
we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't be having this conversation. I agree with you.
Blatant racism. I don't understand why this is so hard. It's not a double standard thing.
So,
I mean, I'm seeing pictures online of Trump supporters that says don't vote with a picture of Hillary on it. So how offended are they? You know what I mean? This is and it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not the same.
The reason that people are asking this, I mean, take the political Trump supporters aside. As far as everyone's saying these are free speech issues and everything, and okay, if you want to look at it that way, fine. But here's the thing that people forget about free speech. You have the right to say it.
Of course.
You do. You have the right to say whatever you want. All that protects you is from going to jail.
Right.
Okay? But if you work for companies and say these things, and they say you're not representing us the right way, we have the right to fire you.
100% agree with you.
A code of ethics.
So ABC had 100% reason to fire her, and the right to do so.
I also read that she might have had some sort of morality clause that might have been violated, or ethics clause, Roseanne.
Oh,
I read that. I read that this morning. That some people were speculating.
Definitely should have put that in there.
Yeah, well, maybe they did though.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know what the contract was.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm sorry.
Right. Giddles did bring that up before. To be fair, he did said we didn't know the details of the contract. So what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. You can say what you want, but if you work for a company,
Right.
you do have to suffer the repercussions from what
Right.
you say. I think people who are looking at this a bit more level-headedly are saying, well, this should be applied to Samantha as well. Not comparing what she said to Roseanne per se, but saying she said something awful on the air too that was despicable and offensive. Why is she not being punished?
But you
not even remotely the same.
But you
thing.
have to look at what she said. First of all, let me say a couple
being
of things.
crude and being racist are two different things.
Let me say a couple of things.
Of course,
I don't really care for Samantha Bee one way or the other.
I don't either.
I don't.
I don't think that she should have said feckless on the air.
She should have said feck off cup.
Feck off cup would have been much funnier.
If
I
she
would have laughed.
Oh my god!
She
If
would've
she
said
was
pee-pee
saying that,
soaked tech hole.
if she was saying that, and they did the old broadcast TV edits where it said
Take off cup!
I would die.
I would have like, okay, I'll
would
give
die.
it to Samantha
So
Bee.
if for some reason they decided to pull her show for
Right.
saying feckless, I don't know that I would lose much sleep over it. I don't think that she should have said it. I honestly think she went too far. However, I don't think you can compare saying something crude and vile to saying something blatantly racist. If you want to make a comparison to something that really was awful that you probably shouldn't say that should get you canceled, let's look at Kathy Griffin.
Okay.
She got fired.
She did.
Her tour got canceled. She lost a book deal.
She made a tear-filled apology that
and
all
it didn't
conservatives
fucking
made
matter.
fun
You know
of.
why? Because she was lying too. She didn't believe her apology. Her apology was 100% bullshit.
Right.
Because she is ruthless and she pushed it too far.
She did.
That's the comparison to Roseanne. It's not Samantha Bee and a joke.
Okay, fair, but Kathy Griffin's not the one in the news right now. Samantha Bee is.
Yeah,
but Kathy
you're
Griffin was in the
playing
news.
whatism games. You're playing.
I'm playing on what's currently being discussed right now.
Yeah, but what I'm telling you is you can't compare the two. And people that are trying to compare the two are grasping at straws. And they say, well, the liberals never get punished for anything. And then you say, yeah, but what about Kathy Griffin? Oh, well, she's not in the news right now. And that's not directed at you because
I was not saying that.
I've had this conversation with people, but you have to look at it. You have to look at it in its total situation, right?
Like,
that's an
literally
example
the
of one being on both sides. And how many comedians get up on stage constantly and on aired specials and call people and jerks, and it's gross. I don't think Samantha Bee should have said it. If she gets fired, then she deserves to get fired. But
But all those people will be out of jobs.
But I can't.
And the conservative argument is that all those people are going to be out of jobs.
But I
then
can't.
they're actively trying
I'd
to
feel
cancel
bad
shows.
for the staff of Samantha Bee
We're
show
not
too.
supporting Roseanne by that statement. We're supporting the cast.
I understand.
I'd feel bad for Samantha's staff too. Because
but what I'm
Samantha should have
saying
known
is,
better.
What I'm saying is the problem in 2018 is that
It's 2018.
no, the problem in 2018 is that a large portion of our population right now thinks that calling someone is equivalent to calling a black person an ape. That's a fucking problem.
I don't know. I was not comparing that at all.
I'm not saying you.
I know. I'm just putting that out
But
there.
this is the conversation that's being had.
Yeah.
I think that is the problem. I think that people that don't understand that calling a black person an ape is a bad thing. People don't get that. How do you not get that in 2018? You could be the most conservative person in the world. If you are but even really exactly. But even really smart conservative people can't say that you say it at a barbecue at the weekend when all your other
Why you look at me for the weekend
around?
We what the hell?
Because I don't know what goes on at your pool parties.
And you don't remember what happened.
But I think that sums it up. Like we have a portion of the population that thinks that calling someone is the same thing as calling a black person an ape. They're both terrible things.
Yes.
But one is significantly worse, in my opinion. Maybe I'm
I
wrong.
would agree.
I can 100% agree with you on that.
But the thing is also, like, Samantha Bee is like calling, like, her comment was at least in context to something. Like Roseanne's tweet, it was the most bare minimum joke you could make. It was like this plus this equals this. Like that's not even a setup for a joke. You know what I mean? I don't even buy that it was a
that's
joke.
fair enough too.
I think it was just a statement she said that she believed and got in trouble for.
There's only one person, I think, this whole week who's extremely happy that this happened.
Who?
And that's Morgan
Donald
Freeman.
Trump.
There you go. Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman on Monday was getting his ass kicked in the news for all the sexual allegations of, and then his apology, and then this came out. He's got to be the happiest person.
He's going after them, right? Though.
Yeah, he is.
Freeman is going after those.
Yeah, but right now he should be quietly going.
Did you see the one person she submitted video proof of what he would? He was referencing a comment to what Michael Caine accidentally mistook a lady for not being pregnant, and she was, and he said, "I wish I could have been there for that." And this lady took it as no, he was talking about me. And you watch the video, and goes, "No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was not talking about you at all."
But anyway,
and that goes back to that conversation we had last week when Matt was mad at us
the person
about
that
people
all
just
this
blaming
helps is Donald
celebrities.
Trump. Anytime there's controversy with celebrities, it helps Donald Trump. That's who it helps.
Yeah, he was busy with Kim Kardashian yesterday.
On prison reform.
Yeah, and then pardoning a fucking felon today who pled guilty, like Dinesh D'Souza. Like, come on. Like, New York's thinking of changing the double jeopardy laws because of it.
See, this is why I don't watch the news. It's depressing.
Yeah. Let's move on to other things.
Oh, well, I do want to bring this
go
up
ahead,
only
go ahead.
because I don't know if Matt was, but Giddles and I have been a fan of this band for a while, NOFX.
I saw him 1,000 times back in the day.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've seen him a bunch of times.
So you know that they have a history of just being assholes.
Absolutely.
And they say
That's their whole
stupid and
band.
horrific stuff, not just on stage. They've been at Sirius many times, and I've heard interviews that were done on Faction where Eric and Fat Mike would be up there, and they're just saying the most despicable stuff.
Yeah.
But that's who they've always been. They were on stage in Vegas playing a show for a festival. I think it was called Vegas Punk Rock and Bowling or something like that.
Yeah.
And they made comments referring to the Vegas shooting.
Thank you. That was the Iron Maiden. Yeah. We played a song about Muslims. We didn't get shot. All right.
Man, don't say getting shot in Vegas unless you're, if you're in a country band.
You know, that sucked, but at least they were country fans and not punk rock fans.
Yeah, you're all thinking it, but he said it.
Did I offend somebody? I can't fucking believe it.
It's an asinine thing to say.
It's a very horrible thing to say. So the audience immediately turned on them. If you watch the video that TMZ has, the audience immediately turned on them, booing them. Yeah. And Fat Mike goes, "Oh, like you guys weren't thinking that already." And I'm like, so they doubled down, to say, look, we're going to stand our ground with this and be who we always are. Right. So it's not uncharacteristic of them to be like that.
There's a manager behind the stage just going, "Oh, fuck."
Well, I remember they played a show in Williamsburg like 3 years ago or something like that, and he was on stage. He's like, "Look at all you motherfucking hipsters and your stupid beards and your shirts, and you all look like fags." And like some dude in the crowd was just like, "Yo, I grew up listening to you. I'm like 35. Like, what the fuck?"
Was that you, Giddles? So the organization has said that they've parted ways with NOFX. They won't play that particular event or any other events they're associated with again. Other venues have said, don't even try to book your band to play in Las Vegas. We don't want you. Right. And apparently there was a beer company called Stone Brewing that had
Stone beers.
had a beer partnership with them because the beer was called Stone and NOFX Punk and Drublick Hoppy Lager. Yeah. And they said that, one, we want to point out the band makes no money off of this beer. Right. We are not going to continue making this beer, but a lot has been made, so we are going to sell everything we have, but they're going to donate 100% of the profits to, I think it was the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Foundation to help out
there you go.
families and people that were affected and injured and stuff
We're
like
gonna
that.
turn this thing right around.
Yeah, so they said they're still going to sell the NOFX related beer, but 100% of the money is going to go to a cause that they've discontinued. So all around, again, you have the right to say everything you want to say. That's your freedom of speech, but you do have to suffer the consequences that you lose work and business and what have you.
And again, right, you have to talk about it, but I think part of the reason that you're seeing protests, you're seeing all these people pull the plug on things, you're seeing people back away from things, is because it has gotten worse in the last couple of years.
That is true.
For whatever reason, it has gotten worse. You can decide.
Because everyone has a camera and everyone has a video and everone could record everything. Yeah. So it's just like literally like things you could get away with, you can't get away with.
And people feel emboldened. So I think what's happening is that more people are finally pushing back. See, what happens, right? Everybody was sort of complacent for a while. You're kind of like, but at some point, when you get pushed, when you get pushed to a point where you acknowledge the fact that it's just gotten ridiculous, you're more likely to fight back.
There's a word for that, Matt.
Yes.
It's called woke.
Whoa! Oh, is that what that is? I don't know.
So.
I don't think I'm allowed to say woke. I don't think I've gotten.
I think you're woke. I think that's what it is.
I don't think I've gotten permission.
When you finally been paying attention enough that you're like, hey, this is bullshit, and you fight back. I think that's called woke, or otherwise known as I wasn't actually paying attention the whole time, but now I am.
Right. No, but don't you sort of feel like as a society, a lot of people let a lot get away with, because we all sort of was like, well, we understand that certain things are really bad, but how bad are they? But now it's so bad that it's like, well, no, we can't just, people can't just sit by anymore. People just can't abide by these things anymore. And so what's going to happen is you're going to see more and more people fighting back against this bullshit on both sides. On both sides of the coin, it's going to happen. and this is NOFX is just another victim.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, like, I'm not shocked at all about what he said, and I think what he said is, like, reprehensible, but, like, he's a punk band. This is what punk bands do. They buck the system.
Right.
They say shit that's uncomfortable. Like, they have songs about fucking each other's moms and fucking girls with no arms and legs and calling them nubs. So it's like, come on.
Right. But to a certain degree, you have to admit that talking about fucking someone else's mom is probably not as bad as wishing death by violent shooter.
Oh yeah,
upon country music fans.
It's even in the same ballpark.
No, but
I'm just saying they're a punk rock
this,
band. That's just what they do.
I know,
like,
but this is Samantha Bee and
really
Roseanne. But this is Samantha Bee and Roseanne. Both are reprehensible, but you can understand why one thing is more reprehensible than the other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Anyway,
before we go to break, and then hopefully we could go to break on a lighter note.
Yeah,
2 weeks in a row, very heavy. It's Erik Nagel.
Yes, our pal Big Kev has moved to Hawaii. We've been talking about this for a while, more so on Matt's other program, Geek Stuff. He's over at Hawaii. He's got a new job and he's starting a new life. Mm-hmm. And like everybody else, we keep asking him, "Are you concerned about the volcanoes?"
Right,
and he has no concern about it. He said, I'm on a different island. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
As this volcanic eruptions continues and starts to crack more and more, even though they said, well, technically this is only eating up 1% of the island. And then today it's like, well, we're looking at 3% now. And I'm like, this is still going to be a problem for a little while. The U.S. government had to issue an alert to people on the island, both residents and tourists, to please not roast marshmallows over the lava flow.
Yeah.
That made me happy.
So fast.
That made me so happy because they're like, just because if the heat is tolerable, there's still toxic gas and ashes flying into the air, and it's not breathable. The fact that they had to do that, I would love to see.
There's a certain reaction with lava and like the sugar and marshmallows. You can like blow your hand off.
Okay,
that's a big deal.
They're not. It's not like putting a soda can in a microwave kind of thing. But the fact that somebody out there had to have been caught with a fishing pole or something that they're roasting marshmallows. I've been desperately looking for photos or video footage, and I have not found it yet. So if you're listening to this and you've seen something somewhere, please contact us. It's Erik Nagel on any of the social medias. Let us know if you've seen anything of people roasting marshmallows over the lava in Hawaii.
And kids are eating Tide Pods, snorting condoms. So this is really no shock at all.
I feel like this is the safest out of all.
It is probably the safest out of all three of those.
And don't go do the video just to send it to us.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, we are not saying.
Do we have listeners in Hawaii?
Also do the video just.
We have one now.
Skittles.
You're making a lot of
assumptions. You can get a really long stick, like in crab net, and put some marshmallows on the end of it. Stand like 30 feet away. It'll be fine.
This is what they should be using those like robotic dogs for.
Roasting marshmallows over lava?
Turn their tail around.
That seems like a waste of resources.
Dude, those dogs are way too smart.
Elon Musk has one. He'll do it.
Dude, if I saw that, I'm like, I need the government to fund this more. Because, yes, this is what people would be doing.
We'll add this to your lottery list.
Oh, that's a good idea. With the helicopter.
Yeah.
We just start a volcano on the moon, Eric.
There you go. Done and done. Lotto list.
Oh, they don't have volcanic material on the moon, Giddles. Otherwise, I would.
We're billionaires, Eric. We could bring it up there and do it ourselves.
That is true. All right,
That's what I'm saying.
Let's take a break. When we come back, our pal Brian Shea is going to be joining us from Game Informer magazine. He's been on the show many, many times.
Yeah.
Lots going on leading into the E3 for 2018. Lots of releases, a lot of stuff being leaked, and he's going to also do tech support for Matt's Nintendo Switch. We'll be right back.
Have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows.
It's Erik Nagel. Eric, Matt, I think Giddle is in there too. Anyway, the show will be right back.
Attention. Shameless social media plug.
It's Erik Nagel is on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and reluctantly, Snapchat. So follow, like, and subscribe. Would you kindly? Eric, Matt OG, Giddle. It's Erik Nagel.
It's gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. I press the rains down in Africa. Gonna take some time to do the things we never have.
Welcome back to It's Erik Nagel. This is what I'm officially saying, this will be the song of the summer. Weezer cover of Toto's Africa.
God,
How do you not
so.
like this song?
It's a catchy ditty.
It's amazing. I love the song even when it was originally Toto's version of Africa in the 80s. And then every now and then when you would talk to people about what songs would you like to do if you go out to karaoke, or just songs from back in the day or your favorite, it's always hit or miss with Toto's Africa, because more times than not people are like, yes, that's an amazing song.
It's always hit.
But then you get some people like, really? You like that song? It's like, how do you not like that song? That and Aha's Take on Me should be playing back to back, you know?
Constantly.
Wow. Throw it a little journey and you've got the trifecta.
Oh my God.
I'll never stop believing.
There you go. See? All right.
So anyway, you should go out and download this Weezer's cover of Africa. It's an amazing song.
Weezer lost that battle. We're going to do Rosanna. No, we asked for Africa. Give us Africa.
Our pal Brian Shea is here with us from Game Informer magazine. Brian, how are you?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Doing all right. I'm enjoying your... Is it a game-specific headset that you're wearing?
I think it's just an Astro headset. Nothing game-specific.
Very nice.
I have an Astro one. It's all right.
This one's pretty comfy.
It's an old one from like the 360, so like the attachments to make it plug in with the Xbox One are really wonky. So, but it sounds fantastic when it works.
Yeah, it has good sound.
Some quick hits on TV and movie stuff before we get into all the game stuff there. Looking at the box office, number one, no surprise, Solo, a Star Wars story, making 103 million, 60. How is it making 103 million in the box office but 65 million globally?
That's probably supposed to be domestically, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it did quite well.
Yeah.
Deadpool number 2, Infinity War is still in the top 5 there, number 3. Book Club, nobody cares, and Life of the Party, nobody cares, making 4 and 5. Anyone here see Solo?
Yes.
You saw it?
Yes.
And Giddle saw it. Brian, did you see it?
I did not. No,
right.
I saw the other 2 in the top 3, though. I'm kind of burnt out with Star Wars right now.
That seems to be, some people have that opinion. Also, a lot of people like to say that, it's underperformed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really underperformed.
I think it probably missed the mark.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting it. When it happens, it happens. It missed the mark.
What did you think?
It cost $400 million to make, and it didn't make...
Oh, I
it
didn't
hasn't
know,
made that yet.
I didn't know it was that much. Well, then,
Yeah.
it did underperform.
Yeah.
Still got a way to go.
I don't really want to talk about it if Brian hasn't seen it yet, or if he has intentions of seeing it, but I liked it. I mean, I'll say that much. We can talk about it later, maybe.
Brian, do you have intentions of seeing the movie?
I do at some point.
Oh,
yeah.
damn.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I don't want to
We'll save Solo for another time,
Because some
then.
of the things in it are worth catching if you can avoid them prior. So,
all right.
Well, next week when it's not number 1 and it's a big shock.
There you go.
So we'll all right.
Sorry,
So we'll do Solo next. No, that's
don't
totally
be
fine.
sorry. Don't be sorry.
A couple other TV hits and movie stuff for you. Andrew Lincoln has announced that he's leaving The Walking Dead for season 9.
Is that official?
You know what?
Because I've just seen like rumors that he doesn't want to come back, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything like official.
I saw something that he was coming back, but he was going to be leaving during the season.
I don't follow Walking Dead news because I stopped watching that show.
I have too.
Walking Dead's still on?
Or 2.
Right.
Yeah. Apparently.
I still watch it.
Good for
enough.
you. Is it like some sort of weird...
I stopped like a season and a half
Is
ago.
it some sort of weird loyalty?
Yeah, I think it's like I've made it this far.
Yeah.
I might as well keep going. But I mean, it's been real tempting these past couple of seasons to just not invest the time.
Just walk away. I did that with all the CW shows this year. I was just like, I'm walking away, and I did that. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
That was like me with like the last season of Dexter. Just hate watching it. Be like, I put in this much time. I can't just leave it unfinished.
A hurricane. That's how it ends.
I own the entire Blu-ray set of Dexter, but I refuse to buy that final season. Like I
so bad
because I love having like the full set, but I just cannot bring myself to spend more than like $10 on that final season.
Oh, so bad.
Fair enough.
Also, a reminder on Netflix, the Toys That Made Us, which I know we all enjoy. 4 new episodes.
Yep, I loved all 4.
I loved all 4 as well. Star Trek was the funniest one out of all of them because it showed it's like they still to this day could not get the franchise, the toys right for any of the franchises. Hello Kitty, Lego, and the history of Transformers was really interesting.
That
too.
was probably the most interesting. Personally,
it's like let's take all these from other toys that aren't other companies that aren't doing well. Let's repackage it, and this dude's going to come up with every name and feature, and he's like, yeah, I just sat there and kind of made up, what was it, 26 names?
He had 3 days or 2 days to come up with the original 26 Transformers, their names and their backstory.
And how much money do you think he's making to this day?
Hopefully he's still getting some sort of credit.
I was thinking he's not making a dime.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like he was rolling.
It was like, this is part of your job here, and then it made billions of dollars. And finally, and then we'll get into the game stuff here, the Happy Town murders?
Yes.
Right. Got sued by the people from the Children's Television Workshop in Sesame Street.
And rightfully Sesame Street lost.
What was the basis on their lawsuit?
One of the
just because there's sort of
no.
The
tagline for the movie, one of the advertisement was something like,
Sesame All Street. Or
no Sesame All Street. So the judge's response to the lawsuit from Sesame Street was, but they're different. So Sesame Street said that it would cause confusion and that it was brand infringement. And the judge was like, yeah, but the tagline says no Sesame.
They're specifically
saying they're not you. So where's the confusion? And he threw the case out. And good, it was the right decision to make. I love Sesame Street. I love Henson, all that stuff. Right. But that was the right decision to make.
That trailer is a little disturbing.
It is. I can't wait for it.
The Red Band.
It's like Meet the Feebles too.
The Red Band trailer's up on our Facebook page if you want to check it out. Brian Shea, it's been a while, sir. How have you been?
I've been real good, real busy. I mean, as you know, E3 is like a week and a half away or a week away. I don't know. I can't even keep track. I'm not going to E3 this year, which is weird for me because I've been for like the past 5 years. But
is that good or bad? Because sometimes I see people who do video game reviews and they're happy they don't get to go to some of these big conventions.
I still adore it. Like, I still love going to these events. I'm hoping to make up for lost time by since I'm not going to E3 by going to like PAX West later this year or PlayStation Experience maybe, but I still really enjoy going to E3. It is nice because I've been traveling a lot lately to not have to worry about traveling this month coming up here, but I know that it's gonna set in like as soon as the rest of my team is over there. I'm just gonna be like, I wish I was there.
God damn it!
But, yeah, exactly.
So you're going to feel like how Matt and I will be when San Diego comes around this year.
Sad and depressed.
Yeah, I'm also bummed I'm not going to that this year either. Another one of our people is going out there this year, though. It seems like we do it every other year.
All right, that's fair enough.
Well, we're not there this year, so it's good that you're not there this year because we don't want to dislike you. And then, two, if we get to go back next year, that should be the year you come join us again.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we had a lot of fun one year when Brian was out there and he sat in on the show with us.
Did a full show.
So
it was true.
Like you said, E3's coming up and PAX West and a bunch of things here. So stuff is starting to be released news-wise and some stuff is starting to be leaked news-wise. What do you have for us here? What should we be paying attention to?
Well, they just did the reveals of Battlefield 5 and Black Ops 4. So both of like the annual shooters are back, or like the big military shooters are coming back this year. Black Ops 4 taking the bold stance of not doing a campaign. which
hasn't that bit them in the ass in the past?
Well, they've never just completely outright abandoned the campaign. Black Ops 3, I think. Well, it's the Black Ops dev Treyarch, and they haven't had a great track record since like the early games. Like they had a fine campaign in World at War. Black Ops 1 and 2 were good, but Black Ops 3 was not a great campaign by any standards. So I'm wondering if they took the low engagement that they saw in that campaign to think like, oh, well, we don't want to do a campaign then. Like people don't want to play campaign. Whereas like I think the campaign just wasn't good in Black Ops 3.
Right, yeah. They took the wrong thing out of it, yeah.
Yeah, but they're doing zombies, which is, they're the people who created zombies, so they know what they're doing with the zombies mode. Competitive multiplayer, obviously, and then blackout mode, which is their take on the battle royale phenomenon.
It's all the craze.
Yeah, it really is. So they haven't announced how many players will be in a blackout match, but I would imagine it's going to be, it's got to be like.
Are they going to have 100 soldiers fall out of a flying bus?
That seems to be the common thread there, huh?
It'd be cool if like they jumped out of planes. Maybe some people came out of submarines. Like that'd be kind of cool, right? Like you could choose land or air.
Like launched like a torpedo.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun. Is this a trend where wasn't there another game that stated that they're not going to do the single player campaign? They're just doing multiplayer that caused sort of an uproar too.
Yeah, wasn't it Battlefront, right? Was it one of them?
Well, the
Star Wars
Battlefront didn't do a campaign, and a lot of people were really pissed about that. And then Battlefront 2 gave us a campaign, but they just screwed up everything else about that game. Yeah. So, I actually thought the campaign was fine on Battlefront 2. Yeah. So I'm hoping that that's like one of the only things they carry forward with the next Battlefront game if they do another one, because who knows if they'll do it again after how much those games probably cost to make and how much that game underperformed. But it seems like EA's learned their lesson, because I think that they are kind of trying to right the ship by saying that they're not doing like a ton of microtransactions, or at least egregious microtransactions in their future games. And they need that messaging, because people almost like it. EA has almost become synonymous with like abusing players' trust with microtransactions thanks to Battlefront 2. And hopefully that lesson's carried through with games like Battlefield 5 and Anthem whenever that comes out. So yeah,
I'm like,
hopefully
online, like it's crazy. Like the people who are so worried about Anthem just because it's EA, and they're like, they're just gonna microtransaction us to death, and like don't get too hyped on this game yet because like it's EA, and like they're gonna throw in extra charges somewhere. Like it's kind of crazy.
I mean, they're doing a service model with like a living, breathing game type thing, like Overwatch has done, where they're just gonna like Rainbow Six Siege, which are extremely popular games, obviously. So they're trying to do it so like all in Battlefield. I keep wanting to say Battlefront, but Battlefield 5, all the DLC and all the maps and everything are free. So they're not going to fracture the player base with like expansions you have to pay for. I think that they do have a loot box system, but I think it's supposed to be all cosmetic. I could be wrong there. But yeah, they're doing a lot of character customization. So here's hoping they learn their lesson with both that, and then we'll see what Anthem holds. But I don't think they can roll the dice too many more times with abusing that and get away with it. Like at a certain point, players are just going to not buy EA games, even if they don't have those systems in place and they keep it up.
Let me ask you about the EA games then. If they're becoming synonymous with aggressive microtransactions, I know they also have big sports franchise license that I don't play those games. Are they doing the microtransactions within the sports games too?
So here's the thing with the sports games is I think NBA Live last year had a little bit of that, like throughout all of its modes. But it wasn't as bad as what NBA 2K18 did last year, which was like if you want to do the career mode, you have to like either grind your character to get his in-game currency, or you can just spend $20 and get like great skills and like great, now my guy has a mustache, because like you couldn't do any facial hair without like playing a lot of the game
with the sideburns.
They retuned that eventually to make it so it was better, and like you could go to the barber shop without any money. But they were better from that perspective, but they were also a lot worse from every other standpoint in the NBA realm. Like NBA 2K18 is an amazing game outside of those microtransactions, whereas NBA Live was a better game than NBA Live has had in recent years, but it was still subpar. As far as Madden and like UFC and and FIFA, they have a separate mode called Ultimate Team, which is like kind of like microtransaction based. So you can play to earn card packs, and you open like trading card packs almost, and the cards that you pull out have different players, and you can add the players that you pull out of those card packs onto your team. But if you don't want to interact with that, which I usually choose not to unless I'm reviewing the game and I check out the mode, I always just do like franchise mode or career mode that don't have any microtransactions whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, gamers, I think, are willing to handle a certain amount of extra pay, DLC, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's a threshold, right? There's a threshold.
Be responsible.
Yeah, you're spending $60 or $70 or more in some cases for a game. You don't want to then be nickel and dimed. You don't want some kid who's got unlimited access to Daddy's wallet to all of a sudden be 100 times better than you because he can unlock Darth Vader day of because he's got the extra 20. I mean, going back to Star Wars, right? But that's what it was, right? People wanted to play Vader, and you either had to grind to play him or you had to pay $20 to get him, right?
You don't want the Candy Crush syndrome where they make the levels almost impossible, but not totally impossible. Yeah. But you want to spend $50 on that hammer to break that last row, and then guess what? You don't carry that hammer over into the next round.
It's done.
Yeah.
And also
thanks Aunt Esther for sending me that Candy Crush, invite so I can get the hammer to break that brick.
Damn you, Words with Friends.
I mean, they have to have that base gameplay loop also to like make it so that you want to, like, if you're enjoying the game enough, you don't typically mind spending a little extra money. Like, I play so much Overwatch and so much Pokemon Go to this day. People still like think that I'm crazy for playing this much Pokemon Go, but like, I don't mind spending a little extra money. Like, if like right now there's an Overwatch event going on, like you can buy loot boxes for like some of the skins that you can't get from playing, or you can get them all, but like, nobody has that much time to get them all without
It's like Vegas odds, It's like, well, you can get this skin, and like it's 1 out of every 2 you can get this skin, but everybody wants this skin, and it's 1 out of every 500,000 boxes that you'll get this skin.
I just found out recently that locally there's a huge Discord group for Pokemon Go locally, like in like our 3 or 4 towns. Yeah.
Wow, because I thought only Pokemon Go was going on in Brian Shea's backyard of Minneapolis.
No,
because I see his social media. He's like, I'm in the park, and I'm like, there's like 100 people there trying to get Mewtwo. It's like this is still going on.
It's not like the global phenomenon that everybody sees like every day, but like when I'm playing, I still see like tons of people looking down at their phones, and I like catch a little glimpse of it, and it's like, oh, they're trying to catch a Pokemon.
Well, that's
my
cute.
mother still plays it all the time.
That's cute. Yeah. They got a Squirtle.
What I think is interesting though about like on the microtransaction thing is that like a game like Fortnite, which is totally free, made like $296 million last month because people are just buying cosmetic like skins and shit, which I think is like totally nuts. But that's, the game is free, so I feel like people maybe just spend extra money.
With Pokemon Go, like, it's completely free. If you want to spend money, you can, but you don't have to. Like, you can just enjoy the game and play it without spending a dime.
I played the game for a while without buying anything and just enjoying the game personally, but then I finally gave in and bought the Battle Pass because if you play it enough, I was playing it so much anyway, you accrued the in-game currency. Now everything is... It just keeps rolling.
Is that the equivalent of I shop at this supermarket all the time? I'm going to have to get their club card because otherwise I can't get the discounts.
I spent $10 and I've already accrued so much currency. I'm good for the next battle pass and more in skins. And then I started realizing how many, like when I was playing with different squads, people who judged me because I didn't have the other skins, they'd be like, they would just completely ignore me and abandon me. Their squad would go somewhere else because I had the non-skin. Where if I had Omega or something,
those are like, losers. Don't play with them.
Well, Giddles and I would play sometimes, and we'd be sitting there off on our own while the other 90 people dropped off.
Well, I'm like, come on, Eric, we have to go. He's like, I'm still chopping down this tree. I'm like, we got to run, Eric. The storm's closing in.
But we sit there in the lobby and we just look at our generic characters and they go, it's something that we're never going to look like any of these other people because we didn't want to pay for all the extras for the game. And then you're getting people that look like Iron Man. They had the Thanos update for a while. There's people that had everything in the same color scheme, like just decked to the nines, to use a term, and we're just sitting there in like a tank top and bad camo. I'm like, I guess we're gonna be the first to die.
I got little kids yelling at me in squads. It's like, oh great, we got a no skin. I'm like, no, I just don't want to spend $10, you little punk.
But does the skin help you at all?
No,
or it just makes you look pretty.
No, it looks like you've been playing a long time and like you know what you're doing.
But like, I will seek people out. Like if I'm running and there's like 4 no skins and then like 3 guys as superheroes, I'm gonna go attack the no skins because they're more likely that they're just like kind of noobs. Yeah.
Got a target on your back.
Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
But I don't mind paying for it, which I always thought I would mind paying for, makeup, basically.
Brian, let's move on to some of the stuff that's been announced or leaked leading into E3 there. What do you have?
So speaking of Pokemon, they had a trio of announcements. First of all, last E3, they announced that there would be a full-fledged Pokemon RPG coming to Switch, but they weren't ready to say anything about it. Now, they had a press event out in Japan this week, and they announced that the full-fledged RPG they were talking about is still coming, but it's coming in 2019. But in the meantime, there's a game called Pokemon Quest, which is free to play, and it hit Switch today or earlier this week. And then there's Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, which is a remake of the Game Boy Color game Pokemon Yellow, but it integrates with Pokemon Go, so you can transfer the Pokemon back and forth. And but yeah, it's like a combination of like the RPG mixed with Pokemon Go.
Trevor, were you a Pokemon Yellow fan?
I since I have a brother and a sister, we split up all the colors. So like I was blue, my brother was red, then we both had yellow. Then I was gold, he was silver. So like I always at some point got to play them all because we would just trade back and forth. And
but did you catch them all?
I did not catch them all.
Ew.
I was a big.
I'm saying it. Ew.
I was a big fan of cloning, though. That's how I got Mew. And whoever gave Mew Fly,
that's
I
how we got
you.
Boba Fett. So,
what else we have, Brian?
Well, there was just a piece of merchandise that leaked earlier that hints that there might be a new Assassin's Creed game coming.
Ooh.
All we seem to know is that it's called Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There was just somebody holding it. Looked like a Greek helmet, so maybe it's in Greece.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's like Homer's The Odyssey.
Oh,
well, yeah,
it would fit the time.
Waiting for
yeah, right. It's just a different period that they haven't played in that sandbox yet.
Do you think Assassin's Creed took a big hit though with how glitchy I forgot which one it is when he was the Native American one? I mean, because that's really what did it for me. And when I stopped playing, it's because it was so glitchy. I'm like, I can't trust these games anymore.
Well, Unity, which was the game that came 2 entries later, was the one that was really bad. That turned a lot of people off. But since then, they had Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite games of the series. And then they revamped the game they revamped the series completely with Assassin's Creed Origins last year, which I hated the gameplay for the most part. The combat kind of was like Dark Souls light. Like it wasn't as strategic as a Dark Souls, but it kind of tried to be.
Okay.
I didn't really care for it that much, but the world and the characters were unbelievable. So I mean, if a new Assassin's Creed game kind of follows that format of like that world, that type of like world building and those compelling of characters, I might play it, even though I don't really like the gameplay of the last game.
Those games seem to be ping-ponging back and forth between good and just yuck.
Good and yuck. All right.
And then another announcement was Fallout 76.
Yeah.
There we go.
Just gonna ask about that.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot known about it. They hinted that it might, like, there's been some rumors and like hints that it might be like a survival game, so not like a typical Fallout game.
Right.
So, and like the reveal trailer was kind of like we're like the Fallout has settled, so like you're going out in the world and like I guess fixing it, maybe like a settlement simulation. I don't know.
Like right after it just happened, and now it's safe for humans to go out. Is that what we're going?
Yes, I think that's.
Well, that's what I like read from some of the breakdowns of the trailer, where people were like looking at dates and like times, and they're like, well, technically, like the dates in the Fallout shelter from the trailer were pre like as the bombs are falling type thing.
Yeah, well, Fallout 4 started right as the bombs were falling, and then you went into like a cryo chamber, and then you get interrupted, and you wake up, and it's like the fallout hasn't completely settled, and like it's still really dangerous to go outside. This makes it seem almost like it's not as dangerous to go outside anymore, but it's still like the world is decimated. So like you're pretty much rebuilding, which might play off the fact that they had like those colony building mechanics in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Hopefully they improve those, because I really didn't like them in Fallout 4. But
what was that like other shelter game that they had too? It was like
Shelter. It was a mobile game.
Yeah.
They might work mechanics from that into it. Who knows? I mean, it could be anything. We're going to learn a lot more at the Bethesda press conference at E3.
It's just going to be a battle royale mode. We know it. It's, just, it's every game. It's like, what do you got? Pac-Man Royale.
Yeah, I mean, we're anticipating that as well. So it could be a very samey, like one note press conference at E3.
You got to strike while the iron's hot.
Like really speculating about, or like any things that like there's hype that people are hoping will be announced?
Well, there was a rumor that I saw that Fortnite might be coming to Switch, but I mean, I haven't heard anything about that. People are really excited about the new Super Smash Brothers to be like fully revealed, because they've announced that it's coming this year, but we don't really know anything outside of Mario, Link, and the characters from Splatoon are in it.
I feel excited.
I like the Smash Brothers.
I can get excited about Switch games again.
Yeah. I mean, it's so nice to have like Nintendo have a hit, because the Wii U was a huge dud, and the Wii was like a very specific target audience. So it's nice that they have a big hit that like, it's always nice when Nintendo is a competitor, like when it was just like PlayStation and Xbox, like it felt like there was something missing in the game industry.
I mean, I did get better at bowling.
Like Nintendo or like Xbox and PlayStation at the top, and Nintendo's like, I could play. And like, yeah, here's some crayons. Go see that.
What else we got, Brian?
Oh man, what else have we got? There was a new Sonic racing game, which I actually will say
You're
am
a
excited
big Sonic
for.
fan, though. I remember this about you. You have a
I'm
passion
wearing a
for
Sonic T-shirt
See?
right now.
See?
Yeah.
I remember when we were with Brian at San Diego a couple of years ago. He was all oodalali excited to go to that Sonic event. I think me and Eric bailed on that.
Yeah, he had the first game's theme on his ringtone.
I didn't go that far. But basically there was a Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed is the last game that they did, where it's pretty much like Sonic Mario Kart with a bunch of Sega characters.
Nice.
And it was a really good game. Like I love that game. And that came out like 5 or 6 years ago now, but they announced a new Sonic racing game, and I guess they're going to reveal it more at E3. So I'm excited to learn more about that, because I think it was a super awesome game. I think they could design the tracks a little better, but other than that, like the mechanics were rock solid, and it was a lot of fun. So hopefully that comes through as good as it could be. What else? There's a lot.
I just want to know one thing: if there's anything that you could possibly point me in the right direction, or at least just say it's definitely going to happen. If I don't get Red Dead 2 this year,
you're not getting it this year.
Isn't it October?
Oh, is it October?
It's October right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
See?
Yeah.
We were right there.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We were supposed to have it now.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where
it
my
got moved
confusion was.
to the fall.
But is that still on track? Everything's good to go with that you were aware of?
As far as I'm aware, that game is still on track and not slipping anywhere. So hopefully we do get Red Dead. I mean, man, I don't know if you're a big fan of the Lego games, but we got a DC Comics supervillain game.
I saw that.
Oh.
Yeah. I love those games.
I think they're fine. They get a little similar after you play a couple of them.
They do, but I don't know. Like there's something sort of comforting about playing those games. The similarity to playing them is, I think, something that I like, and then just reskinning it over. Like, I'm really excited for the Incredibles one that's coming soon, right? I think the Legos Incredibles game is coming.
Yeah, I think it's going to coincide with the
film release,
movie,
which is like June 15th, I think.
Because there's also I saw a regular Incredibles game coming. At least I saw for the Switch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I've probably got like half a dozen like Lego games.
Lego Star Wars was one of my favorite Nintendo. Yeah.
The Harry Potter one was fun. I still like Dimensions. I don't know.
I'm still playing
like those
Dimensions.
games.
I haven't gotten very far in it.
But again, those are the types of games I put on when I have some time to kill. I just want something basic. I want to just kind of have a little bit of fun and just kind of check out for a bit. I'll throw in a Lego game.
So something that's kind of new this year, or at least we haven't seen in a while, is Square Enix has their own press conference.
Ooh.
So, I mean, they have some
What are
heavy
they
hitters
announcing?
coming up. They have Final Fantasy VII Remake, which a lot of people are really excited for.
Yep.
I don't know if they're going to show anything from that, but I mean, that would be a no-brainer to show. I mean, if they have a press conference, so we know that they're going to probably end up showing Kingdom Hearts 3,
right?
Because that's like their next big game. You'd have to think that if they're holding a press conference, they at least want to show their next big game. They have a Tomb Raider game that they're working on, and they also have Final Fantasy VII Remake. So you'd think that that's a pretty decent lineup to start at. I mean, we don't know what else they might have. I mean, they're working on an RPG for Switch that comes out later this year. I think it's in the summer, called Octopath Traveler.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting to add an extra press conference into the mix, because that's one of the most fun parts, that when you're not there covering it, it's fun to sit back and watch all the announcements and all the trailers and get your hype to the highest levels you're probably going to have all year.
Speaking from con experience, I actually when I go to San Diego, right, and people are tweeting at you did you hear the DC? No, I didn't hear about the DC panel. I was interviewing the guys from Rocco's Modern Life. But if I was at home, I've got my websites up. I'm refreshing every couple of minutes. I'm following social media. Everything read. Oh, the trailer dropped. Here it is. When you're actually in the mix, especially if you're covering a press, you don't know half the shit until you get back.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd be running around, and then we'd relax, and then we'd sit with our laptops
in the hotel room looking
Oh,
up.
wow,
Yeah.
this happened today.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at all this that's going on.
You could be a pirate? What?
Or we just talked to him. He didn't tell us about that.
Son of a bitch.
But yeah, I think those are the big leaks that have happened and announcements ahead of E3.
Sweet.
I don't know if you saw something else that I didn't.
No,
but,
I think for me, I think the biggest one I saw was probably Fallout. That's the one that's got the biggest overall bite, I think, to it.
Speaking of Bethesda, there was Rage 2 as well, which I don't know if you played Rage on 360, PS3, or PC, but that was id Software. That was their big comeback, and that was before they did the new Doom.
Okay.
I think that was a fun game.
What kind of game was it?
What was that?
What kind of game was it?
It was a kind of open world, first-person shooter, but also had vehicular combat, post-apocalypse. So people kind of drew the comparison to Mad Max.
Oh, all right.
So Rage 2, they announced, I want to say a couple weeks ago now, and it's looking pretty cool so far. I mean, they've only released a couple of brief trailers. They're kind of building the hype up for Fallout 76 and Rage 2 for the Bethesda press conference. So I'm assuming that press conference will have some pretty good stuff. And I mean, who knows what else they could have. They might have a new Elder Scrolls thing. They might have, maybe more Prey, Dishonored. Yeah. They have some good IPs. Maybe Doom.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good IPs under
Doom
the
was what,
Bethesda.
2 years ago?
What was that, Doom? Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Okay, maybe.
Right. Maybe they have something. I don't know. They just put out Doom Switch. They also have Wolfenstein, which there's a Switch version of that coming out soon, but who knows? They could turn that around super fast. People like those games a lot.
I mean, and there's a lot of good games still coming this year, but they probably won't get a ton of E3. Maybe little bits, like the Spider-Man game that's coming in the fall, right? There's not going to be a lot of stuff at E3, I wouldn't think, because we've seen a bunch of trailers and there's already
we did
been
a cover story on it.
Yeah, I know. It was good.
To contradict you here, Sony actually announced.
Oh, okay.
They're doing 4 deep dives. So they're doing Spider-Man. Their press conference is going to be a different format. They're going to do a few announcements, but most of their time is going to be devoted to 4 games, doing just huge deep dives on them. Spider-Man is one of them. Death Stranding, which is the Hideo Kojima game.
Mm-hmm. Is that the Norman Reedus one or whatever it is?
It is. The one where Norman Reedus is always holding a baby.
Yeah.
That should just call it that. Norman Reedus holding a baby.
Norman Reedus with baby.
Walking Dead Season 10.
The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghosts of Tsushima, which is the new game from the people who did Infamous. If you played those games.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So those are the 4 games Sony is going to really be focusing on at E3 this year.
Any chance that Valve is going to be like, hey, here's Portal 3 and Half-Life 3?
Well, I was just going to ask that because Valve recently said that
it's exponentially more likely than Half-Life 3.
Yeah. Valve said that they were now restructuring the way or redesigning the way they handle games, that they're changing their mentality towards multiple sequels towards certain franchises. So that's I guess where Gittles was going with this there. But when that article came out, it's like everybody just jumped on Half-Life 3 or Portal 3. I would love to see a Portal 3 because I'm playing that Portal Bridge Constructor game only because that's all I got.
Have you played? I mean, all kidding aside, but have you played the Portal level for Dimensions?
I have not yet.
It's like Portal 2B.
I have
2A.
not.
You know, it's like a little, but it's not a bad little level. It probably takes you a little less than an hour to clear the whole thing. But
you know what it is?
It kind of scratches the itch a little bit.
I haven't gotten to it yet, and I've been purposely putting it off because I don't want that to be the last thing that I play.
All right.
That's why I'm playing the Bridge Constructor game.
It is pretty fun, though.
Valve did say they're shipping games again. Like, they've taken a long break from shipping games. Like, they've just been updating Dota 2, which is their MOBA, and running Steam, which, you know, is a moneymaker. So they haven't really had to ship games, but they have a new card game coming out called Artifact, I believe. And then they also seem to hint that there was more on the horizon. So who knows? I would love it, but I don't think they're the type of developer to typically do like an E3 reveal. They kind of remind me of like a Blizzard, where they would just kind of do their own stage, or Rockstar, which they don't typically do an E3 thing either. Like, they might have like a new trailer or something, but they don't do like a big reveal at E3. Valve has their own platform, so they can do whatever the hell they want with Steam.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, since you said about the PlayStation, the 4 deep dives, I saw an article that the head of the PlayStation division for Sony said that the PlayStation 4 is on its last part of the life cycle. So are they looking to launch a PlayStation 5 or something?
But the end of the life cycle, I don't mean to cut you off, Brian, and you can correct me where I'm wrong, because I'm sure I'm going to be wrong, but I read follow-up on that, but they're saying like that end life cycle is still like a good 3 years, I think I saw, or 2021, 2022, something like that?
Yeah, but they also have systems overlap when they're coming out. So when making that announcement, I'm wondering if they're kind of setting the pace to that somewhere in this year they're going to say, hey, in 2019, fall of 2019, we're going to have PlayStation 5 or something like that. Are they heading towards that direction?
I think we could, like, they seem to be hinting that there could be a PlayStation 5 somewhere on the horizon, but I think that we're at least a couple of years away from it, which, I mean, once you get to like 2020, what is that, like 6 years? That's longer than the average console cycle. I mean, last console cycle we were spoiled because it went on for like 7 or 8 years. So I think that it's not completely out of the question that we could see it in the next 36 months, but I would say that's probably about how far off we are, like 2 to 3 years, I would say, before we see like an announcement. I could be wrong. They might surprise us at E3, but I would very much bet against that we would see it this year at E3, maybe next year at E3 at the earliest.
Brian, before we wrap all this up here, what are you currently playing?
Oh man, I'm still playing Overwatch like crazy. I just wrapped up God of War, which is phenomenal. I highly recommend God of War on PS4 if you haven't played it already. And I'm currently playing Detroit Become Human.
How is that?
I've
heard about that.
Yeah, I like it a lot so far. I'm probably halfway through right now. So I hear it can get a little outlandish the deeper you get. But we'll see. The wheels haven't fallen off yet for me. And I like it a lot more than Quantic Dream's last game, which was Beyond Two Souls, which was just, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that game. I liked Heavy Rain a lot. And I don't know if I like this more than Heavy Rain, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that I could like it more than Heavy Rain. I definitely like it more than anything Telltale's done in a long time.
Now, this is one of those games where you like have to make a decision between A or B pretty rapidly. Does that always constantly change the gameplay, or like if you choose A, that doesn't work, you got to go back and do B?
No, it's like your choice affects the story, and you stick with it. Like they
choose your own adventure book.
You can even try to reset your save file, and there's a host kind of like Westworld style, like because it's all about androids living among humans and like trying to get their own independence.
So like real life.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're seeing with the Boston Dynamics.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like a Westworld-ish storyline. But there's a host that like walks you through it, and if you try to like reset your save file, they ask that you don't because the developers designed the game in the hopes that you wouldn't, and you would just follow through with your choices. So you can, I guess, if you want to.
You got to play the game like life with some regrets.
That's it.
Exactly. I have plenty of them in both regards.
There is no happy ending to this game, Trevor. It's all disappointment and sadness.
God damn it, Reggie Ray.
Brian,
I have a question. Is it worth it? Like, I don't think you've played much of this in a while, and I haven't played since January, but is it worth it to play any more Destiny 2? Because I haven't played it in months, and I don't really miss it. But I was like really addicted to it for a while, and I don't know why.
Did you play the first expansion that came out a couple months after launch?
Yeah, I played the first and I played the first expansion. I haven't gotten the Warmind yet.
Okay, yeah. I hear that they fixed a decent amount of the complaints.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you had a lot of problems, like the thing about Destiny is the gameplay is always amazing. You know, like it feels better to shoot a gun in Destiny than it does in any other game. I think that's fair to say. Like Bungie knows how to make you like shooting a gun.
Yeah.
So if you like that, like there's always reason to go back because it's fun to play. But yeah, like the rewards, I haven't played the new expansion either, but just talking with the guy who reviewed it on our staff, they seem to have fixed some of like the reward systems that encourage you to come back time and time again. Okay. But we'll see like how they address those things going forward. It's gonna they have to do a bigger rework of that system, I think, because it's just not as big of a motivation as it was with Destiny 1, where you'd get great loot from playing the late game missions, whereas like it doesn't seem like they give you as good a drops this time around. And I think they need to rebalance that a lot. So hopefully they get it together. But I hear Warmind does address a lot of the issues.
Yeah, I had my team really go back. They spend a month doing the whole new one. They're like, oh, it's great. And they're already back at Sea of Thieves, or they're back at Fortnite already. Like they're already done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, one thing I do want to say is I hope that Microsoft has a huge press conference. Like I hope they blow us out of the water because they've been really struggling on the first party sector. Like a lot of people like Sea of Thieves. I couldn't get into it.
Neither could I.
But
they need to bring crab fight to the mainstream.
You get off the crab fight.
State of Decay 2 was fun, but like it's just so glitchy. It's almost not worth it. Like I still really enjoy State of Decay 2. It's one of my probably top 5 games so far this year, but like it gets hurt so bad from the glitches. But they had a lot of canceled games fall out. Like Scalebound was a big action game that Platinum Games was developing for them, and that got.
Was that the one where you were like fighting like the dragons or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing a trailer for that, and it looked good, but then it never came out.
Yeah, they canceled that. So hopefully they have. I mean, they have some big IPs under their umbrella. They have Gears of War. They have Halo. So. Yeah, hopefully they have some big stuff because I mean they could blow us away with a good first party lineup, but they really need to commit to it. The difference between like Sony's first party and Microsoft's first party lately has just been night and day. Like you look at something like God of War or Uncharted or The Last of Us, and it's just like there's no comparison on the Microsoft side. Like for a while there, it was the other way around where Sony had some kind of like B tier first party stuff. And Microsoft was like, oh, we got Halo, and we got Gears of War, and we've got this. And it's just like they don't have that strength anymore. And it's kind of it's weird because, Microsoft used to have Epic Games, and they used to have Bungie. And now it's just like they passed those IPs on to another team, and they're doing a good job with it. It just doesn't seem to have that magic that it once had.
Well, the PS4 games to me seem very cinematic, like you're playing a movie. Like the Uncharted games is like playing Indiana Jones. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
like,
sure.
but I never had any kind of gameplay on Xbox that felt anything like that.
I mean, I can't speak to Microsoft and how they invest in their first parties, but you can tell that Sony they invest resources and time and money into their first parties. Like their studios are like Naughty Dog, and they have like all kinds of different Sony, like all around the world. Like they have Sony Bend, they have Sony Santa Monica, which made God of War. They Sony San Diego, which makes MLB The Show. They just have so many big name studios that are under their umbrella. And I mean, they have Insomniac Games making an exclusive Spider-Man game for them.
Yeah.
Who developed Horizon Zero Dawn?
Oh, so that's Guerrilla.
Right, okay.
So that is also a Sony studio. Yeah. So it's like they have unbelievable talent under their corporate umbrella. So it's like they just, I don't know, they invest a lot of time and money into their studios, which it shows, I think. And it pays dividends because like that's the place to go. Like if somebody says, "Hey, I want one console," like I love my Xbox One. Like I have an Xbox One X. It's where I go for my 4K gaming, and it's where I play Overwatch and all those other things. But like if someone says, "Hey, I need to buy one game console," it's between the Switch and the PS4 because the PS4 gets all the exclusives, and the Switch, like maybe you like Mario, Zelda, and Super Smash Brothers. Well, there's where you should go for that. But like. You answer one question. Do you like Mario, Zelda, and Super Smash Brothers? No. Okay, get a PS4.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, Brian, we're running out of time here, so we appreciate you always being on the show and helping us out, and also turning on the listeners to new things that they may not have known about, and just your experience for playing games, because he's probably got one of the best jobs that you could think of in humanity, that he has to play video games, then he has to write about video games, and then he has to go to conventions about video games.
It's pretty...
Sounds horrible.
We did a lot of things wrong in life, didn't we?
Let's do Brian's plugs, get everything out there.
All right. Well, GameInformer.com. We just announced that we are making a new website that should be coming fairly soon. So fingers crossed for us that launch goes smooth. I think it will. It's looking pretty cool. So GameInformer.com for like daily stuff. You can subscribe to us at Game Informer Magazine. Get a new issue every month. We've got some really cool covers in the past few months. We've got some really cool ones coming in the next few months as well. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Brian P. Shea.
Oh, did you ask him your Switch? Did you ask him your Switch questions?
Well, the answer to my Switch question is if I take it out of the dock, it seems to download faster. So, I mean, no, I had so many problems just connecting it to the Wi-Fi for the first time, and I've had some connectivity issues since that first time. But I don't know. It seems okay.
It's probably. Do you have it near like? I mean, this is the dumbest question ever, but this is what Nintendo said when the Switch first came out. If you have it by other electronics, some of them can interfere with the Switch's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's by it's by my TV.
Yeah,
exactly. And my cable box.
I think the cable box might be the thing.
Yeah, but
I mean, for a while there was like fish tanks were interfering with Switch Wi-Fi. It's real weird.
Every time I want to get one, I hear something like that, and it just keeps pulling me back.
No, you should get
a
Switch.
You have it hardwired?
Honestly, go on Amazon, spend $15, get an Ethernet USB adapter, and just plug in hardwired, and you'll never look back. It's the greatest thing ever.
There you go.
All right. Well, that being said, we have to do the plugs for the show, and then we can get out of here. Matt OG, what do you have?
You can find me, Geek Stuff OG, across all of the social media. New episodes of Geek Stuff go online every Thursday, unless you're a patron, and then they go online on Tuesday. So check us out, patreon.com/BK Geek Stuff. Support us over there. And I think that's it.
Do you have a Switch handle that people can play with you?
No. I'm not giving that one out just yet.
Okay. All right, Giddles, what do you have?
It's Giddlebase on the Twitter, Instagram, and Xbox Live, and still playing a bunch of Overwatch and playing a lot of Fortnite now because I got Overwatch out a couple months ago. So hit me up if you want to play whatever. I'm down.
All right, Trevor, do you have anything?
At BTG Trevor on Twitter. I've had no new followers. Thank you for listening. And at BTG Rocks on Xbox Live. Me and Giddles are going to get good at Fortnite together if it kills us.
Liar.
There's new shopping carts out.
Us.
It's going to kill us. There's shopping carts out now, and it's not really a vehicle, but it's a lot of fun.
And I'll be joining in on the Fortnite playing because I refuse to learn how to build anything. I just run around and hide.
It's the whole point of the game,
yes,
Eric.
And I don't want to do it that way. So for me, it's Erock Radio across the board on social media and Xbox and PlayStation. But for the show, it's Erik Nagel across the board. Follow us on Facebook, our YouTube channel. We put the shows up on YouTube now after a couple of days of the initial release on the regular show feed, which you should subscribe to the show. And if you do, you're hearing this right now, thank you. But tell two friends so they can tell two friends, etc., etc., etc. All right, I think that's everything. We are all good, right?
Yes,
we forget anything? No? Looking around the room, a lot of blank faces. Okay, we are going to get out of here. Until the next time, everybody.
Be excellent to each other.
And we'll be seeing you.
It's Erik Nagel. And that's all the time we have. Follow the show at It's Erik Nagel on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Unless we do something stupid or something better comes along. We'll be back next time.